welcome to the EthStaker Swell Community Call. My name is Nick Zorakish, and this is the rest of EthStaker. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Starting with Unvetica.
Hello, I'm Unvetica. Yep. I'm Unvetica. I'm here. I'm present. Happy to just be here. The guy that's in charge of the POAPs for today. So anyone wants to channel their pent-up anger for delayed distributions, I'm your guy. Channel it this way. Yeah. What's Fizz up to?
Hey, I'm Super Fizz. I am the former fat talking head of EthStaker. Looking very forward to Nick's spinning this today. And don't look like that. You look but yeah, glad to be here. So looking forward to learning more about Swell. And glad to see you all. Buddha, you're up.
Yeah, hi, I'm Buddha from Beacon Chain. Curious what Swell has to tell us today about. And I pass it on to Nolan.
Hello, I'm Nolan. Sometimes people call me Lamboshi.
Sam.
Hey, I'm Sam. I do project management. Good to be here.
Colfax.
What up? I'm Colfax from Git POAP. Also excited to be here. Nice shirt, Remy. You're up next.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Remy. I just hang out with these guys once in a while, and I'm happy to join the Swell people here. I'll pass it on to, I think we're done with everyone from the EthStaker.
So that's all of EthStaker. And we are here with the Swell team. Swell, do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Let's start with Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm head of product at Swell, and I'm glad to be here. I'll pass it on to Dan.
Hello, EthStaker. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thanks for taking the time. Very excited to share what we have with your community. My name's Daniel. I'm the co-founder and CEO for Swell Network. I'll pass it on to Lucky Lau. Lucky.
Hey guys, I'm Lucky Lau, the CTO and co-founder for Swell Network. Has been in a traditional IT company before and joined the DeFi and has been worked for Instadev, DHedge, and Synthetics. And yeah, we have been started like early 2020 as a side project is solving some pain points that I'm trying to farm Ethereum without 32 ETH and how do I do it? And then yeah, that comes as well. Yeah, happy to meet you guys and talk more about our project. Really excited and yeah, good. Thank you for inviting us, and I'll pass to Sauce.
Hey guys, I'm Sauce, the head of growth, the resident DeFi degen for Swell, and so yeah, happy to be here and excited to answer some questions.
Well, we're really excited to meet you guys, and we're really excited to give you guys a platform to talk about Swell and how it compares to other staking services. First, we're going to go over the logistics of the call, how it's going to go. Unvetica, do you want to go over real quick what we're going to do in this agenda?
Yeah. So we'll go through exactly Swell's network and platform. We'll head on over to, are we just going through like the bullet points here, or?
Yeah. So the first thing we're going to talk about is why we're here, why it's important to have a Swell call at all, why it's important to have a staking call at all. We're going to ask Swell some questions. We had a community call last month-ish with Stakewise. We aim to make this approximately comparable to that call. And then we'll do the POAP at the end. And any upcoming EthStaker events, we'll talk about those. So Colfax, do you want to go over why it's important to have this call?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks. So yeah, I guess like in general, so EthStaker, what we're all about is educating folks on how they can stake their ETH, both like as solo stakers, also in like evaluating other options like staking pools, especially if they can't run their nodes at home or if they have less than 32 ETH, things like that. So we've run a series of community calls, as you guys have seen, most recently, as we just mentioned, with the folks at Stakewise, just talking about like what are the things that you should be thinking about when you're evaluating your different staking options. And we're excited to have the Swell folks here today too, because then they can sort of share like how Swell compares to other options that are available and how Swell is thoughtfully thinking about things like decentralization and client diversity and things like that, which is good for the health of the network. And so really the purpose today is just to talk about different things that are healthy for the network, different ways to stake, and specifically zeroing in on Swell and how it compares to some other staking options available, but mostly really around just like the infrastructure of Swell and learning more about that so people can make an educated decision on what they're going to do with their stake. So without further ado, let's dive on into it.
All right, let me ask the first question here. Maybe Kevin or Danielle can help me out. Let's get to the basics. Like, can you guys give us like a 2 or 3 minutes overview of what's the Swell network? How does Swell work? Who is it for? What are you guys actually trying to achieve here?
Sure, it's a great question and a good place to start.
Yeah.
Swell Network is a next generation liquid staking protocol specifically built for Ethereum. Who we're building for ultimately is the community, which we believe to be composed of both stakers and node operators. Each play a critical role to ensuring the economic security of Ethereum and the ongoing integrity of the blockchain. More specifically, what we are is a combination of a liquid staking protocol as well as a yield optimizer for the staking derivative. So what we do is we have a dApp where we connect stakers with a diversified set of node operators. And then very soon we'll also be looking to deploy vaults within the same dApp so that people can, in addition to earning the base Ethereum staking rewards, also earn the incremental DeFi yield on top within the same dApp, but not having to navigate the complexity of DeFi to do so. So what we're trying to do for stakers is really give them a way to have more transparency through an approach that's fully non-custodial, and that's perhaps a better UX than what we're currently seeing out there on the market. And then on the node operator side, ultimately, and this is perhaps where we're quite excited to work with EthStaker and promote collaboration, is to ultimately be the most perhaps the most logical place to run nodes, whether you're a hobbyist at-home validator through to an institutional node operator. And the way we're going to do that is by promoting more education about the importance of decentralization and lowering not only the technical hurdle, but also the knowledge hurdle. So that's where education really comes to the fore. And partly what we're trying to do here is we're trying to continuously drive further capital efficiency to reduce that financial hurdle and do that in perhaps the most safe and secure way that we can, given the current constraints that we have. Further to that as well, we are quite conscientious about the existing centralization vector risks that are present within this current staking derivative market, which can be considered in terms of things like, as Kofax mentioned, client diversity, as well as other things like jurisdiction and so on, which we believe to be quite topical at this time. And so that's a broad overview of Swell Network. And for us, security is the highest virtue of our protocol. We've conducted several smart contract audits with multiple firms. The product has been an iteration really since the inception of the Beacon chain, and we've just continuously iterated from there. And really, we're at a point now where we want to invite as much open feedback as possible to our mechanism design to ensure that it's reflective of really what the community is wanting from a staking derivative type product, given its importance.
Thanks for that. What would you say is the main thing that like differentiates you from other staking protocols?
Sure. I think there are several points of differentiation. I think the best way to perhaps explain it is what we do that's different for stakers and what do we do that's different for node operators. So on the staker side, we enable stakers to select their node operator. So we enable a greater choice within the staking sort of process or workflow. In addition to that, we have greater transparency. So when you stake with Swell Network, we also provide you with almost like a proof of stake NFT, which represents your staking position on the Beacon chain. So you know where your funds are going. It's a direct deposit into the Beacon chain, and that's what we're the pioneers of is the atomic deposit. In addition to that, one of the things that we're doing that's different is we're making it easier for the average user to earn DeFi yield, which is the whole point of liquid staking in the first place, that you can have your cake and eat it too. You can earn a staking reward as well as earn the incremental DeFi yield on top. On the node operator side, what we're doing that's different is we're enabling the node operator to have a bit more flexibility in terms of how they will scale their business, and that's through multiple facets. The first one is we allow the node operator to select their own commission rate, provide a bit of branding, and also on top of that, we also are actively working to try to reduce the collateral hurdle required to enable a trustless set of nodes on our network. Perhaps the last thing to mention is that we are in the process now of working through a white label liquid staking as a service infrastructure that's currently slightly in stealth, slightly in private beta, but that's something that we're quite excited about is that other aspect of differentiation. And I think the last point to mention is that we're different. So because we're different, we offer another opportunity or another choice within this market that is perhaps is in need of more choice generally.
Okay, and I think I think that I'm up for my kind of a little segment now, and so these are some of the same things we talked about in our pre-call, but I have a general idea. So what is Swell doing to promote the decentralization and health of the beacon chain?
Yeah, that's a great question, Superfizz. Firstly, promoting the decentralization and health of the beacon chain is it's a guiding design philosophy that we have within how we think about our product, and it's something that we're going to continuously iterate on and get feedback from the community on. Excuse me. And so some of the things that we're doing around that is to promote actively analytics within our network, so that we can find out, okay, very quickly the user has information at their fingertips. Well, how decentralized is Swell network across these various sort of proof points? How decentralized is the client diversity? How decentralized is the jurisdiction geographic? To the extent that we can do that whilst also enabling permissionless and trustlessness. So that's the first thing, is analytics. The second thing is giving the staker choice. So we are intending to give the staker choice and have almost like a decentralization score or a performance score. These sorts of things is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make that information be as transparent as possible. And I think the other thing as well around sort of the decentralization aspect is that we are actively trying our best to become the most capitally efficient way to run nodes on a decentralized network that's issuing out a liquid staking derivative or receipt token product. And so on that specific point, we're also quite mature with the relevant test nets on distributed validator technology. We operate the protocol infrastructure layer, so we're enabling node to essentially run whatever client they want. They can opt into DVT, and then we're working with the teams there to try to detect that and these sorts of things. And it's a constantly evolving space. But yeah, for us, that's just top of mind for how we design things.
We had talked about permissioned versus permissioned versus permissionless validators, and I think that the different amount of collateral that each of those would need. Can you intro us to that?
Yeah, definitely. So Swell Network is a permissionless liquid staking protocol, both for stakers and for node operators. But within the node operator side, we have essentially two sort of classifications for operators. You can be a verified operator, or you can be an independent operator. The reason why we've done that is really just because we're in a competitive landscape. One of the things that we needed to do was to study and learn what sort of node operator sets work. And then so we've tried to take the best of Lido and also Rocket Pool as well in that design. And so the verified operator set is really a cohort of institutional grade node operators that have the track record and expertise and all these sorts of things. And the collateral requirement there at the moment is 1 ETH per validator. So there's greater capital efficiency there, but then sort of the recourse around that is really through other mechanisms, particularly like off-chain agreements and these sorts of things. And then for the independent operator side, that is completely like trustless node operations. And so on that front, we're utilizing a similar model to Rocket Pool in the sense that the node operator will need to put up 16 ETH per validator, with the other 16 ETH coming from the staker. At this time, we don't require an additional bond on top of that. But yeah, that's essentially how the operator sets work and the collateral provisions around that. And in terms of our mechanism designed to distribute the ETH, we're working through what algorithmically will make the most sense to ensure a sort of an even and equitable distribution amongst that cohort. And then we'll invite sort of feedback from the community around what are the implications of that particular design, and is that the right design. But so far, this has been the iteration and sort of where we've landed on at this time.
The other thing I would
go ahead.
Sorry, the other thing I would add to the independent node operators is that currently at 16, we have plans and we have several ways of reducing that to about 4 and below as well.
Is that going to be smart contract enforced?
Several PVT operators.
Okay, good.
But you said 16 without any collateral, is that right? And how does it work? Like how can you in practice? Maybe you can describe how it works in practice, because like from the perspective of a user. So for example, if I'm a solo staker, I know I create my keys, I do the 32 ETH deposits, and I start staking. How does it look like from a Swell's perspective?
Yeah, sure.
And,
So, sorry, go ahead, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, and also how do you deal with MEV? Like, or are there no
Wait. So I want to do the decentralization questions and then cut to the MEV questions.
So, but just to your first question, you were asking about from the staker side, if I have 32 ETH, is that right, or the node operator side?
Yeah, just like how does it work in practice? Because in theory, yeah, okay, but I couldn't wrap my head around how it works in practice, because you have 16 ETH, but you don't need collateral, if I understood correctly. So how do you secure the funds that other users deposit in the contract?
Yeah, sure. So, oh yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
If you're an independent node operator, you'll need 16 ETH bond. So you will need a 16 ETH collateral. But we will be reducing that to about 4 and below in the future.
Okay, and that the collateral is in ETH, or is it in a different token?
It's in ETH, yes.
Is that the collateral or the deposit?
The deposit.
So what's the collateral then?
Okay, let me jump in here. Okay, so at the moment it's 16 ETH and one ETH. So 1 ETH is on the verified side and 16 on the independent side. But we're targeting from on day one for 1 ETH, and the way we do it is because we are purely on the protocol layer. There's a multiple way we can assurance for 1 ETH. For example, we're working with SSV network that when they go to the mainnet, we could, for example, like independent node operator, they can run on the SSV network, selecting like 4 verified node operator. Then on our side, we take the track and then we can enable 1 ETH. Similar to OBO, that if they're running on OBO or mainnet, then they run in DVT, then another tick, and then we can also enable 1 ETH. And further to that, we're also working on the pre-signed voluntary exit, and this is mainly possible through our NFT automatic deposit, that we can detect the NFT holder that is the staker to that validator, and then the validator has the pre-signed 1 ETH 1 year voluntary exit. Then bang, we can also enable 1 ETH. So it's not like a capital, if it's like a tolerance that I don't need that much collateral, as the penalty is less likely to happen, so that I can reduce it. From day one, it's full assurance that you can do it safely with 1 ETH for multiple ways.
Do we want to head back to Superfizz?
Yeah, I do. I'm getting some extraneous audio. I'll ignore it until I get it figured out. So I'm interested in the verified operators. And so you had mentioned, Daniel, that they would be, I really have to kill this audio. I'm just going to close this. Okay. So Daniel, you had mentioned that they would be, it seemed like enterprise operators. So I'm thinking, block daemon style operators, but when I think of the people who have the social awareness to be those operators, I'm thinking of people like Anthony Sassano. Like, so when I'm seeing this list, I'm most likely to choose someone that I hold in high regard. Which of those is a more accurate target for who those verified operators would be?
At this time, it'd be the more institutional operators, but it's something that we want to continuously expand and actually do away with over time. Like to Kevin and Lecky's point, our objective has been to really level out the playing field immediately. It's just at this time, we can't necessarily assure like the fund safety without such a high collateral requirement on the independent operator side. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it could be both. And particularly with for example, our white label liquid staking as infrastructure, the idea is that, Swell network will eventually melt away purely at the infrastructure layer, and people would be directly staking with, these sorts of folks directly. And that's something that we want to do as well, because ultimately the more ETH that's channeled into the network, obviously the greater the economic security and this sort of thing. So yeah, for us, this is the state of Swell network as it is today, but our goal is to continuously reduce that further and further and further. Yeah.
With those operators, do you have any concern that that we're further concentrating through multiple providers their share of the network? So for example, if someone is a Lido operator, a Rocket Pool operator, a Stakewise operator, and then they're also a large Swell operator, while they may only hold a small portion of each of those 4 networks, that their conglomerate is very large. Does that give you any hesitation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a centralization, vector risk in of itself, given how proof of stake works, etc. So, like for us, our objective is to lower the technical and sort of knowledge and financial hurdle as much as possible, and that is, we believe, how we're going to enable the sort of decentralization that you're talking about and do away with the centralization risk. But it's going to be interesting to see, like, there's only so much that Swell network can do as regards our liquid staking protocol infrastructure design. I mean, it's really up to multiple layers within the overall ecosystem to do it. But for us, education is going to be critical. Lowering the capital efficiency, increasing the capital efficiency by lowering the collateral is going to be critical, and promoting products which abstract away the complexity of running nodes as well is going to be critical. And so, yeah, I mean, we are acutely aware of the sort of concerns that you're talking about, particularly as if there's overlap with the sort of the larger operators across the liquid staking derivatives of choice.
Sure. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for sharing your answers.
Daniel, I'm curious. So the way I understand it works is you have a set of unverified operators and you have verified operators, and the person depositing can choose if they want to go for an unverified operator or a verified operator, correct?
Yes, they can choose. Go ahead, Kevin. Yeah.
And you've got some sort of score on the verified operators.
We are working through, at the moment, what that performance score will look like. Yeah, so we're working with parties like Reddit Network to sort of make that easy for the user to determine. But not only that, but also not only the score of the operator, but also the score of our network health overall as a set of node runners, if that makes sense. And so we are offering the staker choice, but that's just because we wanted to offer them optionality and transparency. Generally speaking, I think that most people will opt for our auto stake option, where algorithmically it will be determined where their stake goes, and we'll try to do that in the most sort of equitable and evenly distributed manner as possible to circumvent some of the issues that Superfizz raised and implicit within that previous question.
What are the things that incentivize you to choose that service rather than just a verified operator who has the best score?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I think there are sort of several things that would compel people to perhaps choose a trustless node runner as opposed to a centralized one. I think the first one is access to the information around the decentralization health of Swell network itself. Our auto stake feature, in that that is a default feature. The default feature is that the choice is actually abstracted away initially. But if someone is wanting to go down and select down to the node operator level, they can do so. But our belief is that most people actually do the auto stake feature. So it's just optionality. Like, you can do it if you wanted to do it, if you were so inclined, that you wanted to know, okay, where's my node operator, down to the jurisdictional level, down to their performance. Like, that information is available for you if you want. So we're giving them the choice to get that information. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
I think the other important thing to consider is that each node operator can choose their own commission rate. So we create a level of competition between all of the node operators, so they can compete if they want it, if they're an independent one, against the big ones. So if you're a person who inclines to seek the best yield, you would go through the node operator list, see their I guess performance, their health, their client diversity, You can see in future whether they're running MEV boost. You can see if they're part of SSV or not, and you can make that choice if you're inclined to do so. And I guess the combination of that with I guess a good yield is why somebody would choose to select their own node operator.
Yeah, to further to that is you could help with more decentralization, as it also encourage like new no operator, like even solo operator or family office, that you could set a low commission rate like 0, and then people will still stay with you. And then this is probably not unlikely for the verified no operator, as they are institution. They have company to run, like have thousands of Redditor, so they would charge like a higher, like 5% to 8% to 10% commission rate. But for the small one, you can charge lower, and then people will still stay with you to increase the competitive and increase the decentralization further from there.
So hypothetically, if an operator had downtime, is that loss socialized among all the people of the liquid token, or is that where the NFT comes in to? How does that work?
Yeah, correct. That's the NFT comes in. So we are the first one to pioneer the automatic deposit with the NFT. So that way your penalty and slashing no longer socialize, and your reward no longer socialize. So you will get higher reward, as it's only sharing across that per validator rather than like socialize across the network. And it also lower risk for the node operator, as for the white label solution, that you only need to worry about your data center, your nodes running, and other people's slashing will not affect you as long as you are in good health. So you can keep your performance high and performance score good, and keep your history, and then have like a lower commission rate, and that would drive people to stay with you. And the more people stay with you, the higher commission rate you can receive, because it's not sharing across the network.
So how does the payouts work then? Whoever holds the NFT gets a liquid staking token, which should trade 1-to-1 with ETH, right?
Yeah, so you have the NFT, and then underneath will have, say you stake 10, you have underneath has a 10 Swell ETH under managed by the NFT. It's inspired similar like the unit Wi-Fi NFT that is access underneath, and while you're holding it, you have it's a proof of staking on the proof of stake network that you can keep claiming your reward. And we also have a built-in 4626 vault that you can, while you're staking, you could still provide the underneath as well ETH to the vault, to the LP, and do extra yield farming to further bootstrap your yield. So that's like all the yield together, and you don't need to exit the vault. Like you can keep claiming the reward, and then it will when there's an ETH, you can get ETH, but when there's no ETH, it will be in Swell ETH, and you can keep putting it to the vault to like further compound it. So and yeah, so with no longer socialized. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm an unverified operator, I deposit my 16 ETH. I get an NFT that represents 16 ETH of value. As I earn rewards, so say my deposit in total goes up to 33 ETH, I can take away my 0.5 ETH plus the commissions from the other 16 ETH. But then if I turn my node off and go back down to 32 ETH, the liquid staking token stays where it is, but my NFT, that's my 16 ETH NFT, is now only worth 15. Do I have that right?
So to clarify, is the penalty and slashing is always on the no operator, on the no operator side. So when the balance drops on the validator balance, you're correct. If the previous claim is already claimed there, so your last claim will be 33, and then when it dropped to 32, you claim again. There's no reward. It's basically no reward, but it will not go down negative. Like it doesn't impact you because this is back to the bond for the no operator that they are the fully responsible for all the penalty and slashing. If that makes sense.
Yes, that makes much more sense now. Thank you.
So Swell isn't live right now, right? So when does Swell plan on being live?
We are live today. We made it like with this call. You guys the first one to have this announcement. Yes, so we are live on the first stage. So here's our high-level roadmap. So we're going to have the announcement later, but we are live and on a guarded launch. In the guarded launch is like limited validator, like no operator, just running one validator, and then we have 4 phrases to scale it up. And on the first phrase, it's only staking. And then on the next phrase, probably around 1 month, that's what we're targeting, is to enable the LP and then enable the unstake, because you need the LP for unstake, and that's the challenging part, and the Oracle part comes in. So that's in the next release. So yes, we are live on the mainnet and through the guarded launch and on the staking side. Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats, you guys. Very exciting to hear the news. Standard question we ask pretty much everybody that comes on. Is Swell audited by an independent auditing agency? Or if not, do you guys plan to?
Yeah, we've conducted several like smart contract audits. Yeah, so I think we have one with runtime verification who provide the original ETH2 deposit assurance. We also have ones from Chain Salting, Sorotech, PackShield, and Slow Mist, and we're about to finish one now with Sigma Prime. Yeah, for us, as I mentioned top of the call, like security is the #1 priority for Swell and a core value. And so we'll continue to have ongoing audit and assurance across our product roadmap as we continue to develop and iterate on things. And like to Leki's point around our guarded launch, it is a guarded launch. So yeah, we're definitely, it's great to be live on mainnet, but we want to still ensure that things are appropriately functioning correctly. We do expect it to work correctly, but we want to have a bit of a staged and controlled approach prior to going fully open and permissionless in a way. And then, yeah, just to sort of, just on as regard to the guarded launch, it is just plain sort of vanilla staking at this time. We do have like the LP like ready to go, but that will be, post completion of this multi-stage guarded launch. And then at which time, yeah, we'll be continuing to push and have ongoing audits and assurances from our partners. And also, in addition to smart contract audit, also just sense checking audits around sort of the crypto economic implications of some of the things that we've built out, and how will this work in practice, and can we sort of like manage liquidity risk, market risk, stress test the system, and these sorts of things. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we're working really closely with runtime verification. We have ongoing conversation. We've done the audit report. We're going to release that report as well. And then we're also working with a Sigma Prime audit. And this is ongoing. Like I said, started like 2 weeks ago. So and this will be our tier 1 audit firm that we will be keep using for the ongoing audit, because the runtime is like audit the official deposit contract. So they and Sigma Prime run the lighthouse. So they are the one that most closely and tier 1 audit firm that we will have a long-term partnership with. Yeah.
So MEV is one of the hot topics right now. I'm curious how Swell is solving those problems, and especially for the unverified operators? How do you ensure that those operators don't steal MEV?
So we will have something similar to the rocket pool to have a smoothing pool. And then, but the difference is the way the rocket pool does is there's a penalty that if you don't sell it, and there's a penalty. But for us, it's more transparency because we have a choice. Like that's the main difference, that if you don't do it, then people don't stay with you, right? So, and we are more flexible on the protocol layer so that the node operator has a complete freedom to run whatever they want, like SSV client, OBO client, MEV boost, and then whatever client they want. And for us, we're just purely displaying all the transparency information back to the staker, and then they can make the choice that they will know if it's running SSV, running MEV boots, and we are closely working with Rated to provide all the information, the scoring, the client diversity, and if it's MEV boots and the API and all sorts of information. Yeah.
So
I just want to say something. So for us, philosophically, we want to encourage MEV boost. Let's just put it that way. But we want to do it in a way that's fair for everybody. So we're going to try to make transparency that mechanism for promotion of MEV boost.
yeah, the way Rocket Pool ensures that no MEV is being stolen is that they have a trusted node operator system, block builder system, but that doesn't seem to be the case for Swell. Like, if that's not the case, how do you ensure that they don't steal MEV? Like this
So
moving pool itself doesn't do anything.
Yes, so we can detect if the fee recipient is setting to our smoothing pool, and then we can disclose those information, like if they do it or not do it, and then how did they change it, and like all sorts of this information we can just detect if they're fee recipient, and this is public, and we can say, oh, you last changed it, and then you or you haven't changed it, and you have been, how long you have been on setting the fee recipient for our smoothing pool for how long, and like all those information we can do that.
Yeah, but the issue is that the fee recipient is not the MEV recipient necessarily, because you can also transfer rewards as a transaction. It doesn't need to be through the fee recipient, and that's kind of the issue. But yeah.
So the fee recipient, like you could transfer, but if your fee recipient is our smoothing pool, then it will be the fee distribution will be from the pool, right?
Yes.
Or you're saying it just transferred it out?
No, yeah, I mean the fee recipient is transparent, but the issue is that people can do internal transactions to bribe the node operator. So you need some kind of trusted block building mechanism. Otherwise, your users won't be able to verify whether your node operator stole MEV. Basically, what Rocket Pool is doing.
Yeah, that's what you run, the detecting if it's running the MEV boost. So the fee recipient, yes, you're right. Fee recipient will have priority fee or the MEV boost. You don't know if it's running or not, but we can detect if it's a running MEV boost or not as well. So this is Rated is working on that. Through Rated, we can. That's why we're working with Rated Network. Is a third party that is unbiased and as a full transparency, and then they can tell that if they're running MEV boost or not, and then we can display those information, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question about the NFT. So is it only the actual node operators get the NFT, or does everybody get an NFT for their initial deposit?
Every time
everybody.
Every time someone stakes ETH, if you're a staker or node operator, we mint you an NFT that pretty much represents your your
Okay.
position within the
So the only time that actual like liquid ETH gets issued and tokens get created is from rewards and not from the initial deposit itself.
No, it's from the deposit itself. So the atomic deposit is your proof of staking on the beacon chain. So when you stay, the metadata stay on the NFT is how much money you stay and where your money goes into which validator with the validator public key. So that's why we've designed it as a non-fungible, because this information cannot be fungible. It has to be non-fungible. We have to store the staking time, the validator public key, and the amount. So this
Okay.
is
If
a
I were to
proof, yeah.
as not a node operator, is just like an end user wanting someone else to stake for me, do I get 16 ETH worth of liquid stake tokens, or do I get an NFT worth 16 ETH?
You get both. It's really similar to the unit V3 position that you have one NFT, but underneath you have the 16 Swell ETH, which is ERC20 token, underneath managed by that NFT. So then you can opt in using that ERC20's Swell ETH to the LP to do LM U farming as well. Like there's a 2 token getting mint, but we don't return the derivative token directly to you because they are bundled together.
Okay.
But you can still do LM, yeah.
And then for the actual node operators, when they get the NFT, is there anything, if they could theoretically sell that and then just turn off the validators, couldn't they?
No, they are in a bond position. So the node operator NFT is different. It's a bond position that it doesn't mean Swell ETH. Yeah.
It's not transferable.
Currently is transferable, but I think that makes sense for the bond to not transferable. Yeah, that's probably a good feedback. Yeah, we're still an early product. That's why we welcome everyone on board to provide feedback. I think that's a very good feedback. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool, thanks. I have a question. So the merge is coming up, which we're excited about. It's slated for, I guess, a few weeks from now. How do you guys expect validating and staking to change post-merge? So I guess node operation as well as like depositors.
Yeah, I think what we'll see is definitely an uptick in like the overall staking economy. You know, the current staking rate as percentage of token supply is circa 10% or thereabouts. But when you look at other, full POS protocols, it's closer to 60-70%. So I think over time we'll start to see more and more ETH being staked on the protocol, and in turn a growth in the node operator industry overall. And that coupled with all of the other sort of mechanisms within Ethereum should lead to further value accrual to stakers overall, and then ETH denominated in USDC as well. We should see an uptick there as well. So I think overall it will be a growth catalyst for the industry. Cool,
thanks. We've heard a lot of different news with regulation, especially in the US recently. I don't know if you guys have done any due diligence with like registration with SEC or like requirements around KYC or AML. Is there any guidance for your node operators or like the people participating in your pool in regards to all this regulation?
Yeah, definitely. As we know, the regulatory landscape is constantly changing, so we're trying to stay on top of it and trying to ensure that we're managing risk as much as possible and trying to be as compliant as much as possible. For all network participants overall, but at the same time, we're trying to be as permissionless and as close to the beacon chain as close to infrastructure as possible to it. And then so, with things like OFAC, SEC, we have, retained legal counsel on these issues, and we're also, in ongoing dialogue with our node operator partners around sort of the implications of our design and also implications generally that affect all liquid staking protocols. And so for us at the moment, we're trying to maintain that trustlessness, but yeah, we're constantly monitoring it.
Great. Do you have an estimate on how much participants will earn in relation to other staking pools?
It depends on so like the return profile is, obviously the staking rewards and then the incremental DeFi yield on top of that. So it really is up to, his or her risk reward as to how aggressive they want to be, and with more reward comes more risk. But as regards sort of the liquid staking protocols on a head-to-head basis, I think we'd be fairly comparable. I think the main differentiator though is the ease in which one could opt into a vault and then earn that incremental DeFi yield on top. And then the idea is that we'd be we're firstly starting off with LP type strategies. Really, that's sort of strategic to enable our liquid staking overall via the secondary AMM swaps. And then after that, we'll look at other popular strategies such as borrow lend and leverage staking products and then this sort of thing.
Okay, and now everybody's favorite, every staking service's favorite question. Are you guys willing to self-limit once you get up to a certain number? Because Rocket Pool and Stakewise have both committed to that. Lido has not. And so do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think firstly, it's a question for the DAO around self-limit. I think we will be guided by sort of ensuring like the responsible and conscientious building to Ethereum. Like we have our roots in Ethereum. Like we're So, but at the same time, we're not sort of ignorant of the fact that we are in a competitive environment, and that if some were to self-limit, others were not to self-limit, well, then what sort of dynamic does that create? And then should those that have previously committed to self-limiting now all of a sudden change their tune because there's a party that doesn't want to self-limit? What's the impact for self-limiting and in terms of like governance capture, in terms of like state-sponsored attacks on the network? Like what is it? Like what is that going to look like? So for us, the guiding principle has always been to listen to the community, like, and always have the sort of the principles of Ethereum in the back of our minds. But in terms of like being able to commit to a hard number, I think that's tough to do, and even tough to like enforce. But we are guided by, we're well aware of the issues there. So I think that's perhaps our position on it at the moment. But that may change in time.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's good to know. It's a shame that that when you leave it up to a community who has investment in that specific product, and those are the only people who are voting, it's generally going to be 99% no.
Yeah, we'll try to dissociate some of that, so some of the vested interest or the conflict of interest there, and Lido with their dual governance and this sort of thing, and we'll try to divorce that as much as possible. Whether that's the derivative token holders or like it's an interesting sort of principal agent problem that we're acutely aware of. But yeah, I think as long as it's clear to the EthStaker community and to the wider community that we are principled in our building. Yeah. Sorry, Lecky, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Like we are a DAO that is we are still pre-token and like haven't got because you haven't got the token, you haven't got the governance yet, but we are aiming to like shipping everything pre-merge. So we trying to like full speed ahead to get our token out, like getting our product to the mainnet, the Celestic, and then getting our token out TGE, like we're aiming this month. And then we will have the governance system, and then it will be able to do the governance, because that's the DAO, and there will be like, we can do something around this topic. And on top of that is, here's my 2 cents, is we are a marketplace that the way I see to encourage the health of the Ethereum and to make it more decentralized is that's what we're aiming for, is providing the choice. And then the decentralization of like limiting, it should be limiting on the no operator level, like you want to same thing back to the Superfish previous point that you have the subset on the same subset on Lido, same subset on Rocket Pool, same subset on Swell network. Is it better now? Is it better now? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's good.
Yeah, I expect to the same subset. Like you probably have the same subset across the different platform, but and then everyone is limiting on the platform level. That yes, Rocket Pool is limited on the platform, and statewide is limited on the platform, but and underneath you may have the same subset across Lido, Rocket Pool, and statewide. And then which one should you really limiting to what is the health of the network? Is the down to the node operator level, not on the not on the marketplace on the liquid staking level. So, but this is what we like looking into it like closely. We are dealing with it every day. Is how to bring in the choice to actually more diversify on the node operator level, that you are more clear on the choice to better how diversity and decentralized and limiting should work. That's my 2 cents.
Great. I think we talked about this in a few different ways, but I'm still trying to figure out what sets you apart, and like are you guys trying to optimize for any specific metrics, or like in a broader sense, what's your top goals with Swells?
Yeah, I think what we're trying to optimize for is ultimately what stakers want and what node operators want. So on the staker side, we're trying to optimize for more transparency. We're trying to optimize for ease of use with earning the incremental DeFi yield on top. For node operators, we're trying to optimize for enabling them to leverage and scale their business in the most capital efficient way as possible, whilst also maintaining the sort of financial interests of our stakers as well. So that's really what we're optimizing for from that perspective. And then for us, we need to obviously we're in a competitive environment, so we want to achieve certain goals around ensuring there's sufficient TVL, LP depth, and PEG and this sort of thing. That's fairly standard in any liquid staking protocol. But the guiding heuristic for us is to have it to stakers and node operators, and then having this sort of dialogue with the community.
Thanks.
Okay, maybe this will be our last question. So my question for you is, what projects are you and your team working on right now that you're most excited about, and why?
I think Swell, it's hard to sort of like break it down into sub-project because it's like, at least from my vantage point, and Kevin and Lucky and Saul, feel free to jump in here. It's like one massive thing. It's like one massive thing, and there's so many moving parts.
Yeah, just trying to build a protocol, trying to build the community. Just you basically just trying to get things up and running. I think that's just taken up 120% of our time. Yeah.
If I will comment on one specific thing, though, I'm pretty excited about the white label option. I think that's going to be pretty powerful, allowing protocols, brands, businesses to build on top of Swell and build their own front end. I think there's lots of like really cool opportunities with that. So that's like, if there is one specific thing that we're working on that is exciting me, it's that.
Awesome, thank you, appreciate that. So I think we're gonna go over to Michael now to take us through the POAP distribution. So thank you very much for joining our call, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot. Really enjoyed learning about it.
Thanks, Superfist.
So for today's community call POAP, the claim link has been sent in the YouTube chat. We'll be using a different brand new distribution method provided by the POAP team. This is POAP checkout. It'll require a 0.001, I believe, ETH donation. And then once you send it in that donation, the POAP will be minted and distributed to your wallet, I believe, automatically. So there's nothing to do. You get it instantly. There's nothing to wait for. It's a pretty cool system. Let us know how you like it or don't like it, or could be improved in our Discord. That would be great feedback for us as well. Just a quick follow-up on previous POAP distributions, specifically the workshop POAPs. There was an announcement made on our Discord, but if you missed that, we are regathering the data for those who may not have received their POAP, but did make a donation for that POAP. So that'll be ready to go by Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. Updates on that as to when it'll be completed and when you can claim will be made on the Discord server as well. That is it from me.
Thank you guys so much for joining and explaining Swell. We really appreciate the opportunity for stakers to learn more about exactly how it works. And there are like so many nuances to all the staking services. It's nice to be able to compare them across all the services.
Great. Thank you so much, EthStaker. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for joining
Cheers,
us.
bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
so much.